As a parent, it's heartbreaking to watch your child struggle, especially after starting something you thought was going to be good for them, like a detox protocol. You hoped it would help, but now you're seeing behaviors and symptoms get worse. If you've started a detox and your kiddo is suddenly experiencing sleep regressions, sensory meltdowns, behavior issues return, anxiety, tics, these things you thought were behind them are coming back in, you wonder, am I doing the right thing? Unfortunately, it's much more common to experience these regressions than you've been told. So, in this video, I want to dive in the two different types of regressions that might be happening. And if you understand what is the first foundational piece that your child needs to have in place in order to succeed with a detox, you can start to feel empowered. Because I know as a parent, if these issues are popping up, you are likely wondering, should I stop? Should I go slower? Should I do something completely different? Should I not detox at all? So, before we dive into what those considerations are, I want to share with you there's a recent study that found 59 known toxic chemicals in mom. And they wanted to see, are these things being passed on to baby? And unfortunately, they found 80% of these toxins in mom were passed on to baby. So we know there are more and more chemicals than ever before in our babies as soon as they're born, from environmental toxins to heavy metals to chemicals from medications, vaccinations, foods, processed foods, and environmental pollutions, pesticides, laundry detergent. You know, the list goes on and on. You've probably heard about all these things yourself. As a result, we know kiddos are struggling more than ever. The CDC the CDC says that 1 in 6 children are diagnosed with a developmental condition, and 40% of kids today have a chronic illness. So we have all this research that is linking heavy metal exposure, environmental toxins to challenges in our kiddos. It makes perfect sense that you, as a parent, want to get these out of your kid as quickly as possible. And while, yes, that can be very important to help your child thrive, there's also a foundational step needed in order to help your child succeed with these types of detoxes. So, I want to dive into what that foundational step is, and also to understand when my child is experiencing what may look like a regression, is it a normal part of the process? Or is it a regression because they're not ready to detox? So, to better understand whether it's normal or not, you need to understand what's going on with a detox. So, think about it like you're cleaning your house. Over the years, things start to pile up, and you don't want them cluttering your living room, so you shove them all in your closets. Now, your neighbor comes over and you says, "Oh, this living room's pretty clean, not too bad in here." Meanwhile, you know tomorrow's cleaning day and you're going to take everything out of the closet, spread it over the living room floor to get rid of the things you don't need, and neatly put back the things you're going to keep. So, you spread everything over the floor and your neighbor comes by and says, "Holy cow, it's a mess in here. Yesterday it was clean." You say, "Don't worry, I'm cleaning house. I'm going to make this spick and span." What happens with your child when they're detoxing is, over the years, these chemicals can build up in their cells, in their tissues, in their brain. And your child's body is smart enough to know we don't want these just flowing through their bloodstream. So we're going to put them in these areas and keep them there, shoved in the closet, till we can do something about it. When you work with your functional medical practitioner and they're giving you supplements or chelation or things that are trying to detox the body, phase one of detox is to pull it from the cells and put it into the bloodstream. When it's now coursing through the bloodstream where it wasn't before, this is like your neighbor showing up when your living room is now a mess. This is where symptoms show up. So the sleep regressions, the irritability, the fussiness, the tics, the things you thought you had cleared out start to come back into place. This is a normal part of the healing process. Your functional medical practitioner might have called it a healing crisis, is when these things are coming into the bloodstream, they irritate the body and they're a normal part. However, if your child's body can't get them out, that's where now they linger and they cause more of a healing crisis than you expected. So, in the category where they're a good sign is if they're dumped into the bloodstream and your child can get rid of them, that means they're on the right track. However, with a lot of kiddos that we see in our office, the reason they built up in the first place is that their body doesn't know how to eliminate them with what's called phase 2 of detox. As an example, the kidneys need to be able to filter the blood to clean it up if all the toxins have been dumped in. So, what we see in our office commonly is this phase 2 of detox isn't ready. So, how do you know if your kiddo is ready or not? Step one is the unscientific way, but probably the most accurate. It's using your parent gut. Your mama gut, your daddy gut is you know your kiddo better than anyone else. And you might intuitively feel like, yeah, we just did too much. We went too fast, we went too deep, we went too quickly, and now I can tell my kiddo is getting overwhelmed and they're not getting to the other side. If we go back early on, what might clues be that your kiddo's not going to be ready for a good detox is if stress started very early on for them. Maybe it was a stressful pregnancy. The most common thing that we see in kiddos with things like autism, ADHD, anxiety, sensory processing challenges is actually a stressful labor and delivery. C-section, forceps, induction, suction being pulled out, stalled. All this puts a tremendous amount of stress on the most critical part of detox for your child is their upper neck and their brainstem. You see, the brainstem, the upper neck is air traffic control for their nervous system to coordinate getting things out of their body. The vagus nerve lies in this area. The vagus nerve, if you haven't heard of it, is critical to clear out inflammation. It activates digestion. So if your kiddo early on was chronically constipated, maybe they were refluxy or colicky, these are signs their nervous system was stressed as an infant. Maybe they never slept well. As a toddler, they might have started to develop chronic ear infections or sore throat, swollen tonsils, swollen adenoids, breathing difficulties, sinus congestion, allergies. When they get sick, instead of it lasting a few days or a week, it lasts months at a time. All these are signs that their system is clogged and congested. Their plumbing isn't clearing things out the way it should. I'll give you baby Forrest as an example. He came to see us when he was past a baby, 21 months old, but as a baby, he was constipated, didn't sleep well, colicky, fussy. When he came to see us, he was still that way. He had just had ear tubes because his head and face couldn't drain. He woke up every 1 to 2 hours during the night because his body didn't go into deep rest and deep sleep. And he was still chronically constipated. Parents had to do Miralax and enemas multiple times every single week to get him going. They were worried about autism being an upcoming diagnosis based on a preview evaluation they had with their neuropsych. So here's the thing, his body is going to benefit from a detox, but step one, we have to get his system online. So as we started adjusting him, one of the first things parents noticed is he started sleeping 8-hour stretches, 10-hour stretches. He would wake up in the morning when mom would wake up, but instead of getting up every 1 to 2 hours all night, by the end of the first couple weeks, he was sleeping throughout the night. So that lets us know, all right, his nervous system is going into healing mode. It's going to be able to better handle things. What we're working on is helping to drain his ears naturally, get him pooping, because all those things are, if we're going to dump a bunch of chemicals into his blood, his body has to move them out and clear them out in order to succeed with that detox. Imagine in your house, if you're carrying the garbage out, you got it out of the house and you put it in the dumpster and you carry it to the curb. If the garbage truck never comes, eventually it's going to pile up from the curb and just pile back into your house. This is the same thing that we're looking for with the body. The body has to be able to clear things out. The garbage truck has to come to empty the dumpster so each week you can bring out something fresh and keep making progress. So if your child isn't sleeping well, if they're not pooping well, if they're chronically sick, if they have a lot of skin issues, these are all signs that yes, there's a lot of toxins in the body, but the natural motility and clearing out mechanisms aren't there. So that's what we want to do is step 1, make sure that foundation is laid for your child. How we assess this is through the neurological scans in our office. So we can see, is the vagus nerve being affected? Is the natural detox mechanisms online or offline? And is their nervous system stuck in a fight flight state that isn't going to be able to handle a detox well? Or is their nervous system in a healing mode and it's ready to go? So that's what we love helping with, is not just diving into something you know is going to be beneficial at some point, but diving in when you know your child is ready for it. So if this resonates, please reach out. We'd love to see what we could do to help set your child up for success. And maybe you're thinking about a detox and wondering, is it time to start? Or maybe you've tried it, but you've had to back off because the symptoms were just too intense. We love to see if it is your child's nervous system, if their foundation is off, and maybe that's what's holding them back. So reach out with questions, with comments. We'd love to see what we can do to help.